Hello and welcome to the Sports Brief Podcast. Colton Hall here, the host. Very excited to bring you another edition of Next Level. This is the segment where we interview a lot of local South Dakota kids who are taking that next step, going to be playing in that next level. Joining us today is Isaac Flanegan, now graduated senior there for Rapid City Central. Isaac, I got to thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the show.
Yeah, Colton, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to get you on. So give you a background on Isaac, because I know he's too modest to talk about it himself, but
Yeah,
just
no,
got fourth place. Just got fourth place in the triple jump at state, committed to South Dakota State University. Go Jacks, just won the national title in football there. Also, your 4x1 team got third, and you also got third in long jump. Over 21 feet, I believe, was that long jump, correct?
it was, yeah, 21-11, which was super cool. I wasn't expecting to jump that at state because the states held at Howard Wood every year. So their jumping pits are their stadium's nice, but the jumping pits could be a little better. So I wasn't expecting a PR there, which that was really cool to be able to get that. So yeah, 21-11
That's awesome, man. So
was that jump that got me third.
that's awesome. Like honestly, because when you consider the fact that I feel like as an athlete, you want to be hitting your stride at like that best time possible, like literally when it's the biggest meet possible. I mean, what was it like kind of being in that spot where,
Definitely.
what was it be like being in that spot where things really came together for you at the best time?
Yeah, well, that's a good question because the meet before that I had previously PR'd in triple jump. So that was the last chance high school meet on that's the meet before state. So triple jump had gone really well, but my last jump I had sprained my ankle. So that was a little bit devastating due to the fact that state was literally a week away. So I was trying to kind of nurse that ankle back to health before state started. And thankfully, long jump was the first event. And I was actually hoping to do better in triple jump than I was in long jump. And that didn't turn out the way I wanted. But long jump, it was really nice because I had all that rest that week before and all the support from my teammates. So I think a big thing for me in jumping far is just kind of my attitude, and not only my attitude but just my emotions going into the jump, because if I'm stressed out, nervous at all, that it won't be a good jump for some reason. So yeah, that's just a big thing, is just being able to have my teammates be there for me, be there for my teammates. That directly impacts how well I jump.
Hey, thanks for watching the Sports Brief Podcast and our latest edition of Next Level. Before we get right back into the show, we got to give a quick shout out to our sponsor of this particular segment, the Bashful Bison in Rapid City. First off, Scott and Pete and the team do a fantastic job. They make the best sandwiches, hot or cold, in Rapid City and the surrounding area. No cap, definitely not even a discussion. Secondly is they're only locally sourced, which means that they only buy from local producers in the area, which is a huge emphasis of the business, supporting local and keeping it local, as well as the money here in the state of South Dakota. In other words, know the story of your food. And third and finally is, hey, no matter where you are in the Black Hills or really in the on the western part of South Dakota, they have a sandwich for you. That's right, the Pahasapa, the Pine Ridge, the Edgemont, the Sturgis. You gotta love that Sloppy Joe. Oh yes, the New Underwood, the Rapid City. It doesn't matter. They've got a sandwich for you in your area. So if you're in Rapid City, or you're coming through Rapid City, or if you're in the area, make sure you stop by the Bashful Bison in Rapid City and get the best sandwich that can be made. That's awesome, because I feel like a lot of people think of track as kind of I don't want to say necessarily an individual sport, but it's a sport
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and it's like when you start kind of like in that perspective of like, hey, I'm trying to go as far as I can in this particular jump.
Right,
It's
right.
like it's weird when you get those teammates that actually support you. Like, do you think that drives
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, that's super interesting you brought that up because so the beginning of this May, I applied for the Howard Wood Dakota Relays Gold Medal Scholarship. And they do that every year. They've done it for over 20 years now. And so you have to write an essay. Um, the essay prompt is like, how am I I don't exactly remember it, but talking about continuing track and field at the next level. And my exact topic on this essay was why I believe that track and field was a team sport and not an individual sport. So that's super cool that you brought that up, because I do believe that track is a team sport. And again, yeah, you're focused on bettering yourself, right? Improving your marks, improving your times. I guess that's setting aside your relays, because that's a team effort for sure. But in the long jump, triple jump, even the sprints, tracks really enlightened me over the years. I started track in seventh grade, have done it every year since then, except COVID. That was my freshman year. So um, yeah, I've learned that even the other teams, it's really cool to be able to give them tips, show them what they could be doing better, encourage them. Um, because it's all about the camaraderie. And if you're doing this solely for yourself, again, you're not going into this sport with the right mindset.
That's awesome, dude.
So
So now let's talk about what led you to SDSU. Obviously, going to really be a part of any big program like this. So let's talk about what
yeah,
first led you there.
yeah, that's a good question, because so actually up until mid-March to early April, I was planning on attending USD. That's because I'd reached out to the USD coach, some other D1 coaches. I was mainly either looking at Montana State, SDSU, or USD. And so I reached out to some of those coaches, never heard back. I actually got told by the USD coach that they didn't have a spot on me for their team. It was a little late in the season that I was reaching out, and that was a bit devastating to me, because I had a lot of friends going there, had some friends participating in the track team. So that was unfortunate. But my jumps coach, actually, her name is Jenna Stevens. I jump at Rapid City Central High School right now, so just graduated there. But she's a graduate from SDSU. She was a jumper on their track team, and the jumps coach there, David St. John, it was her coach, and he's still the coach there today. So she reached out to him for me, which it was nice to kind of have somebody have that connection there. So she reached out to him, he reached out to me. We had a phone call, and he said, "Yeah, we'd love to have you over for a visit." So it was pretty last minute. So my family and I, we drove over there. It was really cool. We got to meet the athletes one evening, just talk to the athletes without even talking to the coaches first. They got to give their opinions and their experiences of SDSU and SDSU's track team. So from what the athletes had told me, it was a really positive experience. There's really just like that close relationships, interpersonal bonds between the athletes. And then I got to talk to Coach St. John, and he's a really cool guy. We have a lot of things in common. So that was all, those played big factors. I'm also a musician, and I'm going to be a music major. And SDSU has a very good performing arts program. They have the really nice facilities. So that also definitely helped in my decision to attend SDSU.
That's awesome, dude. What instrument do you play?
I'm a pianist mainly, but I also play drums, guitar, saxophone, clarinet. So just kind of all around musician. But yeah, piano is my main instrument.
That's awesome. And I was actually a percussionist. They made me like
Okay.
they made me like the fourth cymbal because I
Yeah.
was not good
Yeah.
at sight reading or at reading anything. So they're like,
Yeah.
just
I feel you. I
go
feel
down
you.
the line.
Yep.
um, that's awesome. So what do you want to do with your degree after when it's all said and done?
Yeah, so there's it's hard to get a position as a musician, like a professional musician. You either have to teach, that's about it, teaching as a musician. So aside from that, I'm planning on minoring in biology, and using those prerequisites prerequisites to apply to PA school physician's assistant. So that's the plan. We're going to first year in college and how that times out with track.
Wow. Okay. What's kind of the expectations in terms of like, so high school track, completely different ball game. That's why we're covering this whole thing.
Oh, definitely.
What do you see as being the kind of the big jump? Like obviously bigger athletes, bigger, bigger stage and all that. What do you see being the biggest
Definitely.
transition for you?
Yeah, well, there has been. So the SDSU coach asked me if I would be interested in doing multis, so decathlon, um, and that would be a big transition because most of those events I've never done before. I've hurdled in the past, I've high jumped, but those throws like discus, shot put, javelin, pole vault is a big one that I've never even attempted to try. So transitioning into doing all those events, um, so that's a lot of practice while trying to maintain that GPA. Always put in studies first. So it'll be a challenge for sure, but I've been super excited. I have a friend on the USD team. She was a jumper this past year as a freshman. Um, but she is also gonna try out the multi. So we're gonna this summer be practicing together, timing our 800s, doing that because neither of us are distance people. So it'll be interesting to try out the new things before the college season actually starts.
Dude, that's so cool. Like you consider the fact like the decathletes. I hope that's the correct term. Decathlons.
I think so.
Something.
The cathletes, yeah. Well, we'll call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, something along the lines of there. What are you like? As far as your former teammate, what's the biggest thing that they've taught you really as kind of like moving forward with this? Because I mean, again, a guy that was a stud jumper coming up at a high school, learning all
Yeah.
these different things. What's the biggest thing that you're really hoping to learn?
Well, do you mean this like my friend
Yeah,
from my
yep,
friend?
yep. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Yep.
for sure. Yeah. One thing she's taught me, we jumped together at Central again for a couple years. She's a year ahead of me. But she has taught me positivity, and she's such a positive person, even when things are hard or things aren't going the way she wanted. And she's almost been a role model for me in that way. Again, there's not a big age gap, only 1 year, but um just as a jumper going through injuries, you can always it's always pretty discouraging when you get those because you can think, well, am I out for the season? But I think one thing she's taught me is to always keep that smile on my face, to always, even no matter how I'm feeling, to be encouraging to my fellow teammates. And that's really worked well for me this year because there's quite a few underclassmen that I've almost mentored, underclassmen athletes this year that I've been trying to be their role model. And so she's been a really key figure in developing that.
That's awesome, man. This next question is kind of something I've been asking, a lot of the athletes, just because I feel
Sure.
like it's always really important to remember where you came from. What's the legacy that you really want to leave behind going from Central to SDSU, and then B is also kind of like what is the biggest thing that you are trying to maybe the biggest thing you're trying to pass on to another athlete, maybe it's a message, something you've learned, something like that.
Well, something I've always held on to my whole high school career is maintaining a good GPA throughout my sports. I've always valued my grades higher than my athletic performance. And that's something that's super important, especially getting accepted into college. Is just like I probably wouldn't have gotten on the team if I didn't have a high GPA. Like I think I maintain 4.2, 4.25. So it's really, and your GPA doesn't have to be that high, obviously, but it's important to put your grades above your sports because ultimately it's your grades and what you focus on academically that's going to get you farthest in your life, unless you're a freak athlete. But Yeah, so I think leaving Central, joining SDSU, I've talked to some fellow like underclassmen athletes, just about their grades, and just reminded them that those are super important too, and to never forget like ultimately where they want to end up.
That's cool, man. Man, I really appreciate it. I just, as we kind of close that out here, I asked the same thing to all the athletes.
Mhm.
Is there something else you'd like to say? Kind of a message? Anything else you'd like to say to the, maybe the parents back home? Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just like to express my gratefulness to my coaches because again, I wouldn't be here without them. Especially my jumps coach Jenna Stevens because she's also been kind of a role model and a mentor for me, um, academically and all or athletically and also academically. I definitely wouldn't be here today if she hadn't been here for me. Um, yeah, so that my dad has been a big part to this past fall. um, we made the goal that I want to run track in college, and so we wanted to fulfill that goal, complete it. And so he's big into research, so he researched all the best like exercises. We work out every day, do like Bulgarian split squats, like all the things preseason. So yeah, he's really committed to that, so I'm super grateful for that. And yeah, I guess that's what I got.
I
But
appreciate that, man. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah,
That's just honestly one of those things where, obviously we've got an impressive athlete like yourself that's going to play, or excuse me, going to run at a D1 level, just a really a thing that
right,
we really like to, pass on, just to say that with that last thank you. So that was beautiful, man. I appreciate
for
that
sure.
sentiment. But like I said, Isaac, thank you again so much for coming on. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it. It does mean the world.
no, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite to come onto your show. So
Absolutely. No, it was my pleasure. So, all right, we'll get out of here. Thank you all so much for listening to the Sports Brief podcast. We'll be back next week with another edition of Next Level, talking about all local South Dakota athletes that will be participating in sports at that next level. Until then, we'll see you then.